My name's Sam and this is the Little Greenhouse Creates. Thank you for joining me today. Please don't think you are watching Wednesday's video because you're not. It is Funky Fold Friday, but I have brought last Wednesday's card in because I wanted to demonstrate the beautiful dies that we're going to use today. So I have cut all the dies out. Let's bring this in. So as you can see, these are all the dies. I'm hoping we can get them on the page. I'll move them around a bit. So you've got this beautiful large flower with an outline. You've got three little heads with their stems, one very large green leaf, and then three different varieties of leaves that also can be used. So all of those things do not match what is inside the stamp set. However, these do. So this little flower has three flowers here, three heads of flowers, prints out. There's only one of these, but I will use it twice. I will show you that in a second. And then you've got this little head here with its two-tone, which is this one, and its little stem, and the same with this one here. However, back to Wednesday's card. So this is the card we created on Wednesday. And so it's a flat image raised with dimensionals. But there is one other set in the dies, which matches this. And what I've done is I've stepped up the version that we did on Wednesday. And as you can see, I have raised these up on dimensionals and I have laid the flowers flat. So this is the two cards. So this is the card we created on Wednesday. I have now just upstamped it, upgraded it maybe. One of those things. Anyway. So I just wanted to show you all of the dies pre-cut so that you could see what wonderful dies come in the stamp in with the kit. Now there are 15 in total, of which 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 match the images on the stamp set, and the rest are all added extras. Okay, enough waffling. Let me bring in today's card. So today's card is this Funky Fold. It is almost the two cards in one. I think I originally saw this design being done by Connie Stewart from Simple Stamping. She's an American demonstrator. And does some wonderful funky folds. So I believe this is one of hers that I saw originally. I've mushed it around a bit. So it lays flat in the envelope and then it will pop up. So it folds out like this. And then you've got this secret section here where you can write your message and close it up. And it stands very like that. If you can see, it's like a wiggly. Okay. So if I lie it totally flat, you can see the full card in layout form. So yes, definitely a funky fold, a brilliant funky fold for this beautiful stamp and dies. So let me bring in my supplies. Oh, she says. Okay, there are many. So let me put all these aside for a second. I'm just going to put these up here, out of the way, and the dies that I have used. We'll go through those in a second, and the coloured cards I've used. Right, let's focus on the base. So the first thing I've got is Shy Shamrock, and this measures 5 3/4 by 11 inches. Ooh, 11 inches. 5 3/4 by 11 inches, and we will score that in a moment together. I've then got a piece of the Designer Series Florals in Bloom. So this matches our stamp set. This is 5 1/2 by 6 inches. I have got a piece of white cardstock. This measures 7 inches by 5 1/2, and we're going to score that at the 3 1/2 inch. I have two pieces of coloured. This is Timid Tiger, and it measures, each one of these measure 1/2 inch by 3.5 inches. There are many pieces with this, so don't worry, on my blog I will have written down all the measurements for you. Then I have a piece of Shy Shamrock. This measures 2.5 by 3.5, and then my white piece of cardstock measures 2 3/8 by 3 3/8. Right, that is all the pieces. Let me show you what I've done. So I have cut out in the Timid Tiger. So this shape comes out, when it comes out with this piece, and it also comes out with lots of extra bits which you can throw away or use. Now I have chosen to use them. However, what I've done is I have cut out a second piece on this one. So this is Peach Pie. This is Timid Tiger. I have cut 2 of them out, so I'm going to use the outline in Peach Pie, and I'm going to use the infills that come out of this piece in the Timid Tiger. I have also used this die. So it comes in 1 die, and it gives you 3 little, she says, where have I done with them? It does give you 3. Okay, so I've only got 2 for the moment. Oh, no, there's the third one, sitting amongst all the others. So there's 3 of those. Again, I've punched those out in Timid Tiger. Then I have brought in my bigger flower. So these are like the petals. These bits sit on the base round here. And I have cut that out here in the Strawberry Slush. And I've also cut out this big one in Strawberry Slush. So we've got Strawberry Slush, and then the 3 little heads in Strawberry Slush. Then this die gives us the stems, and that's been cut out in the Shy Shamrock. And then with the leaf here, I have cut out 2 Shy Shamrock leaves. Right, so that's all the pieces we're going to use. As I say, there are a lot, so don't panic. I have written them all down, and they will appear on my blog, should you wish to recreate the card. So it's going to pop these across over here for a second, and I'm going to bring in my first piece, which is the Shy Shamrock, that measures 5 3/4 by 11 inches. Now we are going to score this with my scorer first of all. So let's bring that in. Go down there and I pick up my scorer. Okay, so the first measurement is going to be 1 3/4. Then I'm scoring at 3 1/2, 5 1/4, and 7 inches. Okay, so that's the only piece of scoring on that piece. I'm going to bring in my white piece that measures 7 by 5 1/2, and I'm going to score that at the 3 1/2 mark, and then that will fold over as our card. Right, that's all the scoring we need to do. Let's pop that aside for a second and bring this back in, and I'm going to bring in my trimmer. So the card sits in a landscape position, but for the cutting, I want you to turn it into portrait. So that's like this. Bringing in my trimmer, on the right hand side, you have a 1 inch mark just here. I'm going to get you to put the right hand side of the card over, up to the top, but over to the 1 inch mark. Then taking your blade, you're going to line it up with this 1 3/4 inch mark that's here. I'm actually going to stand up so I can see what I'm doing. Okay, so that's going to the 1 3/4 inch. Pop it down. Now I'm going to go across the first 2 panels and ending on this line. Oops, let's move it up a bit. So across the first 2 panels and ending at this line here. So there will be a panel and then the main panel. Okay, so let's make sure it's in place. Pop that down, and I'm just going to bring it along. This is the 5 1/4 line. Okay, so I'm going to bring it all the way along to the 5 1/4. and stop, and then I'm going to lift it up and take it out. So you've got this slit here. Then I'm going to flip the card over and do exactly the same. Right hand side up against the 1 inch mark. I'm going to pop this down at the 5 1/4, and I'm going to move it up to the 1 3/4 mark, which is the first score line. Okay, so now you've got these 2 lines and these pair up. Right, that is the scoring done, or the cutting for that piece. Right, so we can do, you're going to push these 2 panels. So the 2 panels, top and bottom, stay down, and the panel here comes up, and it's going to fold away like that. See that? And that will give you that kind of fold. So these 2 stay down and this pops up. Now you can move your last score and burnish it. I'm just going to burnish that down there. I'm going to bring that one back and burnish that. Morning boots. And Bella's joining in too. And then you can do the fold there and the fold there. Okay. So now you've got panels. You can see you've got 1 full panel here, 2 small ones that have broken up, and a 3rd one here, or a 4th one even. I hope I'm making sense. Right, taking our piece of designer series paper, we are going to cut this. I'm going to put this aside for a second. So this is the one that measures 6 inches by 5 1/2. So I want you to cut a 1 1/2 inch strip. So the first one we're going to cut is a 1 1/2 inch strip. So this will be the first panel. Okay, I'm going to take that and pop it aside. Then we're going to take the next panel. We're going to make 4 panels in total. So again, the panel is 1 1/2. Okay, so yeah, 1 1/2. And you're going to cut these. So 2, and then 1 more, 3 and 4. Okay, so 3 and 4. So because my pattern runs, there's a pattern in this, I'm trying to keep those as straight as possible and as near to each other so that the pattern runs across. Okay, so the first panel you're going to leave as it is. The second panel, you are going to cut off a 3/4 inch at the top and at the bottom of this piece. So let's do that now. So we're going to cut 3/4 inch from the top. Bring it down so you can see what I'm doing. 3/4 inch from the top. That goes up there. And then you're going to turn it round and cut 3/4 inch from the bottom. This bit is spare. Okay. That goes there, and that goes there. Right, so the next one, the 3rd strip, you are going to cut a 3/4 of a strip from the top, like previously, which will go there. You're then going to cut from the bottom a 3/4 inch strip again. Like that. And that will go into there. But this other piece, what I want you to do is I want you to cut the remaining piece down to 3 1/2 inches. So I'm going to turn it around and I'm going to cut it down to 3 1/2 inches. Okay, so I'm just going to cut that top bit off. That bit is now spare and we don't need it. So that goes into there like so. And then we're going to keep the 4th piece as it is. Now these pieces can be stuck down and put into place on our base. So let's get our glue. So the first strip, I'm going to glue. And that will go over here, like so. Okay, as we can. Then this piece is going to fit up here. So another bit of glue. sure it lines up. So you're aiming for this line to line up with this one. Give it a little bit of a wiggle. Then the next piece, the last piece of this second panel is going to go down here. So again, another bit of glue. And again, you're going to line it up with the base of this. We're now going to do our third strip. So our third strip, let's move this all along a bit. So our third strip is going to go here. Like so. Then I'm going to add the bottom strip into here. Into there. And then the middle piece is going to go on here, like so. All right. There we are. Perfect. Now, closing this card up and taking it like that, you're going to take your green panel. So this green panel is the one that measures 2.5 by 3.5, and you're going to stick it down onto your card base. Okay. Perfect. Now, before we stick this one on top, I need to stamp it, and I'm just going to put the sentiment down the bottom of Happy Birthday, and I'm going to stamp that in Timid Tiger. This comes from the beautiful butterfly set, because it has that nice small Happy Birthday, but obviously you can use whatever is in your stash. Just realised I've forgotten to add one of my strips. We're doing well. We're doing well. Thank goodness it's Friday. I'm going to ink that up, and then I'm going to pop it down the bottom. There we go. Happy Birthday. That will slightly lighten as it dries. Let's go back. We're doing well. Right, okay, so this can now go into here. And the picture on this side will be complete. There we go. There we are. Perfect. Right. So we can now push this over, and then this will get stuck down onto our little panel that we've just already created. So let's do that. Okay, now I'm going to put this aside for 2 seconds while I create the flower that's going to go on the front. So I'm going to use the strawberry slush, the peach pie. So let's stick that down first of all. So I'm literally only going to put glue on the bits that stick out, have a fairly largish surface to put glue on. There we go. Okay, turn that round, and then I'm going to pop this into place. Okay, just gently touch that and hold it down. Right, so the next thing to do is to bring in the pieces that fell out once you've got the outline, but these ones are, as I said before, Timid Tiger. Let's make sure I've got them all. Okay, so the easiest way of doing this is to, there it is, just add a tiny bit of glue here. And then this piece, it's like a little jigsaw puzzle, will fit inside. There we go, that's that one. Okay, so the next one to fit in is that one. Nope, where's that one go? That one goes down there. Okay, so let's add this. There we that down. Lovely. Stay in place, thank you. So the next one to do is this one, which I believe goes into there perfectly. So just a dab of glue again. Thank you. Pop it in there. Pop it down. Then I've got, let's have a look. I think this one goes here. Yep. So another bit of glue down there. It just fits in quite nicely. Yep. And we've got two more pieces, one in there and one in there. So let's add those. And that bit goes there. And then you get this nice two-tone effect, which I really like. Okay, so it's slightly stuck. There we go. Right, so that now will sit on here. But before I stick it down, I'm going to put it onto dimensionals. And I've got some dimensionals here, and I'm just going to give those a little cut so I can use them a little bit easier. So I'm just going to always handy to use the extra bits that come around the edge. I think they're amazing, and they are so much easier to cut down and fit onto your images. Right, there we go. That's one bit there. I'm only going to put 3, and I'm putting them in the middle because what I want to do is I want the leaves to slide in behind. Okay, so let's work out where the leaves are going to go. I'm thinking one there, and oops, on there. Right, let's stick those down first. I'm going to use my ink pad just to hold that down while I glue these in place, because there's a lot of card there. So I'm just going to use tiny bits of glue away from each slit. So that one will go to there. And then off you go. Try to pick that one up again. Right, there we go. And then I'll do the same on this one. I think whoever receives this card is going to go, wow, that is an amazing funky fold. There's lots of little bits with it, but it just works so well, and it's so pretty. Right, that's how I'm going to do it. So let's take the backs off of these. There we go. Perfect. And then we're just going to have that there. So that is the front part of the card completed. We now just need to do the other piece. So do you remember the piece that we scored at 3.5? This is the piece that is going to go on this section here of the card. It's literally going to sit. You've got a larger gap on both sides, but top and bottom are smaller. So I'm bringing it over, slightly more over to the right, but I still want a panel showing through. And then that's what it's going to look like there, there, and there. Makes it more even. All right, so let's do that. Let's stick that down. Perfect. There we are. Right, before it fully sticks down, let's make sure we've got the area that we want. Yep, we're happy with that. So that's good. Now what we need to do is we're going to add our Timid Tiger panels. And I'm going to go top here and bottom here. But what I want to do is I want to make sure that when the card comes over, the gap between here and here is fairly central. Okay. So let's do that one first. I'll glue this one down. Just going to put a line down the glue like so. And I'm going to slide that through very gently and work out roughly where it needs to go. Keep going. And once I've worked out I've got the gap, I'm then going to bring that on to make sure that it's straight. And before I stick it, yep, that's perfect. Now I'm going to do exactly the same with the bottom one. So a line of glue down the middle. And I'm going to roughly work halfway through top and bottom. That one's slightly further down. About there. Make sure that's equal. There we go. Perfect. Now what we need to do is our last piece is to add our flowers in the middle. Now what you're going to try and do is hide all the flowers over this section. So you want to make sure that nothing comes down on the right hand side, otherwise it will show through. So we're going to put that over that way. And we're going to stick our flower about there. Let's just make sure it's not showing through. It shouldn't do. Nope, that's fine. So let's stick this down with the glue. So again, just little dots on the slightly larger surface areas. There we go. Perfect. Right, I'm going to turn that round and that will go about there. I'm just going to poke it down with my nail. You can use pokey tool if you want. Then we can add our leaves or our petals. Okay, so you could put these on dimensionals, but for today's, and I think there's enough bulk in this card already, I'm just going to lay it flat. So that's the first one. Then I've got this one, which will go, these are almost like tulips, aren't they? Along here, like so. On the base, hold that. Oh. And then the last one will go here as well. That's just down the bottom. Okay, and that will go over the green bit there. Now, the only thing I should have stuck down is that bit there, but because I haven't stuck the top, I can slide it in. So, let's make sure I stick the right one down this time. That one, I think, that goes there. See? And then this one will go in the middle down here. So again, I'm just going to add a bit of glue. Not too much. And I'm just going to slide that down into place. Lift up that one. And down you go. Obviously, you can be wiser than me and stick yours down first. There we go. I wouldn't mind, but I did the same thing when I created the first card. Never mind. Right, so that one will go onto there, like so. And then the last one will go to here. And that is our final funky fold card for this week, completed. So we've got this beautiful, got a bit of sticky bit there, beautiful shy shamrock, and here I have got the pop of petunia. Bring them down, you might be able to actually see them. With a bit more burnishing, those will lie flat. So thank you ever so much for joining me today. Come on, stay down. Let's do it that way. Thank you ever so much for joining me today. I look forward to catching up with you next week. So do join me then. Whatever you do, have a wonderful weekend, and I look forward to seeing you then. Bye.